The Startup Cabin podcast is brought to you by Cedarwood. Cedarwood rents out senior CFOs to the tech industry from 1 to 5 days a week. For more, go to cedarwood.co.
So imagine building a world kind of like you did in Minecraft, and then adding your own role-playing game storylines to it, along with your characters, and then inviting your friends to come join you to play in the web browser with just a simple link. Well, that's happening over at Happy Landlord, a Swedish game developer, and they're working on Adventure Box. And today, Shumei sits down with Christopher Kingdon, the CEO and co-founder, to hear about all their ideas on building games and companies. He and his team have decades of experience, and so we feel there's something really valuable here for you today. We hope you enjoy it.
Well, Chris, welcome to Startup Cabin podcast.
Thank you.
So, can you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Christopher Kingdon. I'm the founder and CEO of Happy Landlord. We're a new Swedish game studio, and we're producing a game we call Adventure Box.
Mm-hmm. So I know a bit about Adventure Box, of course, but can you describe the game for our listeners?
Yeah, sure. Glad to. So Adventure Box is a voxel game. So voxels are volumetric pixels, like in Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And our voxel game is played in the browser. We use HTML5, so there is no downloading of software. You just click and play.
Mm-hmm.
And the game is lots of different things. So we're trying to reach out to different type of people. You can just click a link and play, fight monsters. You can create an account, and if you do that, you get to select and customize a character, and there's an adventure for that character, like a role-playing game. And there's also a city you can build. You guard a village, and you can expand the village into a city. And then there's a third engagement level, which is where you create your own quests and even your own games and share those with your friends.
That's kind of different, right? I mean, there's a lot of games that are about exploring and gathering items, etc. But building your own game and sharing it with friends, that seems to be like the next level, pretty much.
Yeah, we think so. There are a couple of attempts, but it hasn't really been done successfully so far. And we think our model, where it's so easy to share through the web browser, and where we have, for the more advanced people, we have a programming interface, but for most people like me, we have graphical tools to make your own games with. And yeah, I like that when you sort of move power to individuals and let them express themselves.
So how did you start with this project?
Oh, it was quite a complicated background. There were different people who had been working on different projects, and in the end, through a common colleague, I found Rob O'Leary, who is our CTO.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob had been working on a voxel engine, his own game engine, for years. And after we got in touch, a few months later, we decided we should start this company together. And then we've been working since March to make things fly. And in August, we were able to release a first alpha of our tools. And so I'd say from this autumn, we've been really organized and pushing on with new releases and so forth.
Cool. So who more is in the team except you and...
Me and Rob, yeah. So then it's also Bahadir Tosun, who's our creative director. And Bahadir's been an animator for over 20 years for games, for short films and such. And then it's Thomas Huttenloscher, who is our sound designer. He also helps me with some marketing stuff. And then, so three of us, not Rob, the other three work out of Stockholm. Rob works out of Paris, and he has two buddies, Pep in Seville and Lee in Dublin, who help as well with the programming side of things. And then we have Jeanette Janisch help out a bit with PR and media. We got a couple of game bloggers in UK. So we're sort of an internationally distributed team working on this.
Mm-hmm. And you just started your Kickstarter campaign. How long ago was it?
Oh, this is our 3rd week, so we've got another like 3.5 weeks to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's very exciting, of course. So we're we're struggling along. I think we're like, well, soon 30% done or something like that. But we need to pick up pace on the second half of our campaign to reach the goal. And we're reaching out to people to try and help us. And we have some game bloggers we're hoping will spread the word as well.
Mm-hmm. And you seem to be giving a lot of in-game experiences. I mean, I see here from the Kickstarter campaign that you have like, you can get your own honey dragon pet in the game, which I think is really exciting. Yeah. Name your own weapons and characters and figurine, like collective figurines, and get yourself as a character. It's is that typical for games for Kickstarter, or is it just you?
No, I think, well, we got help from our 2 game blogger buddies on thinking about what in the game we could use as rewards, and they looked around at other games. So I think it's sort of a typical setup, probably. Now, in our case, we're a game and we're a sort of a modding tool, if you will. Mm-hmm. And our game seems to attract a younger audience of 13 to 24-year-olds. And at Kickstarter, people are typically 25 to 35. And so what we're seeing is that most of the backers go for the modding tool. So I think they're more interested in the more complex part of our product.
So they're simply more experienced gamers and are looking for the larger challenges.
I think so, yeah. They want something more, the complex aspect of our product.
Is there something more that you've learned from doing this Kickstarter product that you didn't know before about it?
Yeah, actually going into it, we thought that our game probably would naturally appeal to a younger audience, and we were aware that Kickstarter audiences were 25 to 35. Mm-hmm. So we tried to think of it, but probably not enough, because it's not an entire overlap. What we do, it kind of looks like Minecraft. It's quite different from Minecraft, but for someone who looks at it quickly, because it's voxel, it's cubes, many people think of Minecraft. Then if you go in and play our teaser game, you'll see it's a very different vibe to it. It's sort of dark and it's spooky and all that, all the things that Minecraft is not. Okay. But I think that also means that as you communicate over social media and so forth, it's natural that people who like Minecraft will like our game as well.
So what is different about it? I mean, I saw in the introduction video, and I've of course explored it, and it seems I get pretty excited when I see the intro that you are in this dark world and you don't really know what's there. You just know that it's kind of overtaken by some kind of evil, and you get your little house, and you should just start building yourself up. Where do you go from there?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a very little teaser that's on our public webpage, adventurebox.com, where you get to see a little bit of the starting world. And we're adding a lot to it. I hope to make an update of the alpha. But basically, there are 2 stories. There's one story for the hero. That's you. And it's a sort of, in a sense, a traditional hero's tale. It's you go through a number of steps in order to reach your ultimate goal. In parallel with your story, there is also a story for the village and how the village grows and goes through different phases. So these 2 stories are intertwined. So that's sort of the game aspect of our game. But then you have the modding tools, and with those you can actually add quests to your world, and you can invite friends. It's a multiplayer game, so you can always invite friends, but you can invite friends then to do the quest that you've added. You added a cave with a troll in or something like that, and a treasure. So you can do little quests to get yourself used to expanding the adventure. And then you can actually see the completely new world and fill it completely with your own quests and adventures.
So I can actually, like, for my gaming friends, I can actually create a couple of caves or a new city with monsters, and I can give them that for them as like Christmas presents.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, sure.
I think they would appreciate getting some trolls, actually. Much better than a book.
You're such a troll. Here's a troll for you.
Here's a cave and a troll. Okay. So how did you get into gaming world and building game companies?
Yes. Yeah, this is my second game company, I guess, so my third media company. So it was a long journey for me because I've been working for over 20 years. Started once at Ericsson doing telecom. But then they say you can work in the time sector, telecom, internet, media, entertainment. And I pride myself on having gone through all the 4 letters. so telecom led into internet or mobile internet, which led to applications, and which led to media. And then looking at media technology, I had an idea I wanted people to be able to make their own movies. And then I was able to solve that using gaming technology. So that was my last startup. And then, of course, in a sense, Adventure Box is quite similar because with my last company, we were letting people to make their own animated movies. And what's bigger than movies? Well, games are. So Adventure Box is about letting people make their own games.
For the listeners who don't know, actually, for every Hollywood movie, there is 50 games made.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the scope between games and movies nowadays. And when it comes to Swedish games, actually 1 in 10 people in the world have played a Swedish game, which I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah, fantastic.
It kind of shows the scale of how large gaming and different kinds of gaming are in the world right now.
It is. Yeah, that's great. And our game, I guess it's like 3 parts Swedish, and then it's 1 part French, 1 part Spanish, and 1 part Irish, I guess. So it's something like that.
Yeah. I was actually talking to my colleague, I think it was last week, and he was building some kind of mansion or something in Minecraft. Just to he wanted to make a pool that looked like a Superman logo to see how it looked, and he used Minecraft for that. And I just realized, like, the next couple of generations, we will probably, kind of build our houses in these kind of voxel games, and then send it to the architect and like build this.
The thing is that my wife's an architect, and architects today, they use the same tools we use for creating computer games, right?
Exactly.
Autodesk, Maya, and stuff like that, right? So I think that in the future, architecture will also be much inspired by computer games. You're in the virtual reality all day with your computer, and you probably also want to live in an environment which is similar. So yeah, I think so. And voxels, of course, one thinks of Minecraft today, but as processors get faster, the cubes will get smaller. So I think you'll get more and more realism in cubes as well, even though as opposed to traditional polygon surfaces, voxel models are solid. They have an inside. So I think that's a big difference in the modeling technique.
And I think that's interesting. I think it feels like these kind of games are so approachable, even to people who don't really play games, that they go into it just to be able to build things. I think that's an interesting perspective as well, because that means that, it's more than just one adventure or one kind of game. It's a new game for every person who plays it.
No, true. And I think in Minecraft, they started, I think, with this sort of Lego style building where you build cube for cube. You can do that in our game as well, but you can also import complete buildings and build a bit faster because you want to get to the next layer, which is where you're building the story and the game. One thing we haven't announced, but I think it's so fun, I'd like to talk about it, is that all these people who built advanced stuff in Minecraft, of course, Minecraft file formats are completely open. So one thought we have, which is not too difficult for us really, is that we can build a Minecraft importer. And in Minecraft, of course, everything is one. You don't know what's a house and what's a mountain. They're all the same thing. But in our importer, we could allow you to select voxel sets and name them and say, well, this is a house. And then you could put that house into our asset catalog. And so you could be reusing all the cool stuff you made in Minecraft, but in AdventureBox, where you, in addition to having the assets, the houses, and all those things, you can add the story layer and the characters to be in that world as well.
And I mean, that's amazing. I mean, that's truly crowdsourced built games, pretty much.
Yeah, that's ideal, isn't it, really? Well, because you can never compete with the world or people out there. You can only enable them, really.
Yeah. And also the way to make it faster for those who really want to try out to build their own games. I mean, that's also one part of it, just like understanding how you build games. I think a lot of the gamers out there are interested in how that works. I mean, I am that myself, of course. It's the same with, movie nerds who wants to know everything about how the technology behind certain shots are made. I mean, that's the way you feel about gaming too. You want to, when you see something amazing in a game, no matter if it's the story or visuals or just the gameplay, you kind of wonder how they made it and how they thought about it. I think we're going to see more of that as well in the gaming industry, kind of like the see behind the curtain kind of experience. I think a lot of people are missing that. The way kind of movies have gone from being just this cool thing coming out to now having, every part of the making of the movie or the TV series being streamed at the same time they're actually releasing the episodes, because people are as interested in them talking about the series as looking at the actual TV series or movie.
Yeah. I think so. We're heading in that direction, and also we're building the tools at the same time as we're building the game. So the tools that we're sharing with our customers are the same that we use to build the game with. So, and then I think we should be making lots of like let's play movies about how we use the tools and so forth, because I think much of sort of art, call it art, where you have professional artists, and my colleagues are professional game artists, but it's the same for musicians or painters or whatever. I think these days is you have more and more amateurs who want to do something, and then the role of the professional is to be sort of a role model, but also to be a teacher, to share and educate on how to, for other people, how to do it themselves as well.
And it seems also to be a bit of an editor. I'm thinking about, like, for example, YouTube channels, that the ones who are really into a certain area, that they know so much about it, they become kind of editors to show the amateurs what kind of inspiring work that is out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And finding new ways of doing things as well.
So what's the hardest part about building this company?
Oh, yeah, good question. We're a small company, but you still have to do all the things you would have to do if you were a big company. So there's no fewer number of tasks. Well, maybe there's less sort of administration routines, less meetings, but you have to, on a small team with few people, do all the things that needs to get done. So you need people who are able to do lots of different tasks and are very productive and able to get lots of things done. And I mean, you're developing a product, you're marketing it, and you're staying afloat, being financed meanwhile. So, yeah. I don't know, I guess the things that you can't control yourself. I mean, our building of a product, we're in control of that. But then you want people to like it, and you want to reach out to people. So to get people's attention in this day is one challenge with all the noise out there, and the other challenge is to get investors' interest and to remain financed during the project.
You have such a long experience as an entrepreneur in the startup world compared to other people. So what did you do differently? What did you decide before doing this company, your third company, that you didn't do before? What you learned before, like this is something like this time, this company, this is something I won't do, or this is something I absolutely will do this time?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you try to learn. It's difficult, but so I think I looked, after selling my last company, I looked at 5 or 6 different projects before I settled on this one. One part of it was Rob, that he's such a fantastic program. I've really been searching for a CTO partner for a long time. Easier said than done. So in Rob, I found one. So that was, I'd been wanting to find one for a long time. And you can say I should the next time, but you have to have the luck to run into the right person. But then with the game, one big thing is that we're HTML5, that we're in the web browser. Because even if you've got a great product, to convince people to download, if it's a gigabyte or if it's 200 megabit, that's a big challenge. So by being in the browser, we're click and play, and that makes it so much easier to share the game. Then the other part, so that's so technical. On a business side, it's always important to not spend so much money. You know, even if you have a successful seed funding round, you think you got a lot of money, hang on to it, and only increase your budget when you feel you have to. Because run out of money, you're in trouble.
I really agree with you about having a click and play solution, because the reality is now that I mean it's 1 in 3 that downloads apps to their mobile phone.
Yeah.
And I mean 1 in 3 people who have smartphones actually still download new apps.
Yeah.
That is crazy compared to when you know, in the beginning of smartphones, where you downloaded almost like 20, 30 new apps every month just to try it out.
Yeah.
And we had a Europe tour with my company now. So we were at the Pioneers Festival and Web Summit, and it was so interesting because at 2 occasions there were people talking on stage from different companies. One was an investor and one was a startup founder, and they both talked about, you know, what's happening with my smartphone. And they showed their smartphone that they had pretty much like 4 apps or 6 apps in their smartphone. Only the ones they actually used. They didn't download anything new. And that seems to be the way we're going towards. It's the competing around apps is super hard, because there's so many steps until the person actually uses the app. They have to download it, they have to open it, they have to make it a habit. But when you use browsers and don't try to do an extra app or something like that, but actually have one format, it's so much easier to get access to the users, simply because there's less clicks or you know, less swipes.
Yeah. No, I think so, especially on the PCs or the laptop, the desktops, where I think it's even worse than on the smartphones. You know, maybe 80% don't download, rather than 1 in 3, I think, as you said, on the smartphone. I've heard some people, it's also a discovery factor. It's so difficult to find an app on your phone. If you know what you're looking for, you can go for it exactly. But browsing apps, no one will find you if they're browsing for an app. You're one of millions of apps.
Yeah. It's also interesting what you said about financing, because I think that's one of the things I've heard from investors the most, is that, you know, most young startup founders, they just see a pile of money and they think they're, you know, yeah, we have our seed round or or A round, and then we have so much money, and then they don't realize, that salaries and everything else, it kind of drains that pile of money pretty fast, and they are not prepared for it. So I think with a bit of experience, you handle money so differently. And I know that we have to tell, our clients all the time when they have investments, that you're pretty much just supposed to use a third of what you think you're going to use, because otherwise you will just go through the budget too fast. The burn rate is just going to be too fast.
I like this Steve Blank guy who did this book, Startup Owner's Manual, and he talks about what's the difference between a startup and a regular company. And he says, well, a startup is a temporary organization searching for a repeatable business model. And I think that's the big difference for when you go for like expansion money later on. That's when you have the metrics and you can show that, if we pour money into this type of advertising, we'll have results. We have a return on that investment. And once you've proven that this is how we make money, then you can pour money into that equation. But before you have proven it, then that's when I think you should be really careful with the money.
Yeah. And it seems like that most people do the other way around. They try to, they get a little bit too trigger happy with the first money, and then they get kind of scared because of that, and then they don't spend enough money when they have to. When they actually have to spend it on marketing and sales. I especially see this in Sweden, that people don't spend enough money on sales.
Yeah. No, in Sweden, if you compare to USA as well, the seed fund rounds are really small. Yeah. So people run out of seed fund money before they reach their Series A.
So what's the next step for Adventure Box?
Well, yes. So right now at Adventure Box, we're working with a few different things. One is that we're closing our third seed fund round. We're taking a few different rounds of seed funding. And the other big thing is we're working on product development. So our beta release for end of March is our main focus. We'll do a few alpha releases on the way there, but getting a feature-complete beta out end of March is the main focus for most people in the office today.
Okay, cool. So I'd love to put up the links for the Kickstarter so people can find it from startupcabin.com. And of course, we will put up startupcabin.com as well when you get your beta, because I think people will want to see that. And I think I'm going to go for backing for getting the honey dragon.
Oh, fantastic! Yes,
because I want that one.
and all the support we can get, we appreciate, of course.
Yeah,
it's really helpful for a company in our stage to get that type of backing.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks for coming over and talking to us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So if you're interested in learning more about Adventure Box, maybe get an invitation to experiment with the alpha release before the beta release, you can go over to adventurebox.com and get all the updates there. The Kickstarter campaign has just a few days left, so try to get over there and support them if it's something that you're really excited about. And this month, Startup Cabin is participating in 24 days of blogging leading up to Christmas, and we're talking about people's recommended book lists, how-tos, the stuff we're learning from the entrepreneurs here, learning about people's mistakes they're making in business, startup culture, entrepreneurship. If that's interesting to you, come over to startupcabin.com and check it out. And if you would like to contribute to the blog, there's a sign-up form. You can contact us. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And we wish you all the best. You take care.